All right, I'll get started. So what we're going to do today, normally what I would do is the chair would open. Fortunately, our chair is not doing well. So she was going to retire tonight. She's been with us for 10 years. So fortunately, she's not able to do that. So we'll just skip that piece and we'll get straight down to basic introductions. And I'll start over here because I can start with Heidi. What do you got?
Heidi Muller, transit coordinator.
How long have you been on the system?
What?
Give me your history.
My history.
Just give a brief, how long you've been with.
I started as with a contractor back in, I want to say 2017. Has it been that long? 2018. And then I got hired with the city in the prime of COVID of 2020. And I've been here ever since.
About 2.5 years.
Yeah, I've been with the city for 2.5 years.
So, I'm Todd Wood. I am the transit director. I've been with the city 3 years. It doesn't seem like that. It's true. Prior to that, I did 2 years at Columbia County. Prior to that, I had spent 15 years in transit. So I've been in the industry now for some amount of years. Yes, I'm hitting 20 years now. And we'll start with our incumbent.
Nancy Muller. I am retired. I retired in 2020 after 14 years with the city of Canton.
And what did you do for the city?
I was the transit coordinator.
Ironic. The last name may seem coincidental. It's not.
Yes.
Your mother died.
Adrienne Clarkson, I found school before, but I'm really excited to start more and just getting more. We love helping people and yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome.
Tyler Frankie, new member of the trip.
Awesome. And you do, you do the Katie Couric.
I do KB Current.
I'm proud of it. All right. So Transit Advisory Committee is what you've all signed up for. If you are in the wrong room, I'm sorry, you're stuck because I didn't.
Not the one.
Yeah, so Heidi's gonna start this up. Let's talk about what your duties are in the committee. Make sure we go over that before we do anything else. Okay, click the button. All right, so I'm gonna read off this so after my head. All right, so attend the meetings. We only meet every other month. If the chair or somebody decides we need to meet more frequently, they can make that call, but for the most part, we only meet every other month. Part of that's because transit's fairly stable for the most part, and also transit moves fairly slow. That's not a pun. That's it just, a lot of our stuff goes through the federal government. It takes a while to get anything done. We can't just turn a key and make things happen. It takes a while. So usually every 2 months seems about right for updates, changes, decisions, so on and so forth. But that can change depending on how the committee meets. We have met more frequently. If the committee says we need to meet next month and kind of move forward with stuff. So, but for the most part, your job is to show up every 4th Thursday of every other month. We make an exception during the holiday time. We all decide whether or not we want to meet at a different time or not meet. Depends on what's going on. Follow Robert's Rules of Order. If you don't know what they are, try to learn them. I'm going to have Heidi send out everybody Robert's Rules of Order so that you know them. If you have any designs or desires or anything to go further than the transit committee, you really need to know Robert's Rules of Orders. We ask that you follow them. We're not the best versed in them, but try to get versed in them, try to follow them as best you can. It's good practice for our committee. It's also just good if you ever have any aspirations to move way up in the future, you'll want to know them and know them well. Your main job is to represent the community. That is the purpose of this committee, is to help the transit department move this system in the way that's best for the community. So you will each represent various aspects of the community. So think about what those might be. That's kind of your demographic. It's not like an official put my name down for this group, but think about who you want to represent, who you're interested in helping have better transit, because that's part of your role here, is to represent those communities. Discuss transit items. Obviously, it's a transit meeting. We're going to bring items to you. You're going to bring items to us. We're going to have discussions. You're going to give us some direction. That's the major focus of the committee. Advise the city council on funding and system changes. So the city council is the ultimate decision-making body. We can't make any major decisions and enact them. We have to send them to the city council. So we make decisions, we vote to send them to council, or you vote to send them to council. Council makes the ultimate decision. I will say in the 5 years I've dealt directly with councils, I've never seen a council override the transit committee's decision. They don't usually send weird, strange things to the council anyway. Most of the time, the council will take the advisement of the advisory committee. So it's pretty normal, but they're the ultimate deciding body. Advise the transit director, that's me, on items that don't require city council. So if we have items that don't go to city council, but you want to see them enacted, you advise us to go look at them or come back to you or you know, come up with ways to change the system. We'll do that quite a bit. We'll make changes to the system that don't require us to go to city council, such as service hour changes or changes to the way service works. We will do that on a fairly regular basis, especially over the next couple of years. Take public comments. Like it or not, we are a public body, and thus anybody who walks in the door has the right to say anything they want, good or ill. They have, we limit them to about 3 minutes. They can tell you whatever they think, and they have the right to do that. So that's just part of the job. Never had anybody here really go too terribly off. I've had it in other properties, but not. And then vote when items require it. Some of our items require a vote to push to council. So if it's something that, like, we're changing contractors and we've gone through the process and you vote to move it to council, that's what we'll do, move it to council. So you have to vote to move to council. So, and then there's a few other votes that come up. Questions? Yes.
Does the agency, for the point of representing the community, does the agency or the committee even have any ability or email address? Do we have any way that people know to contact us or?
Most of the stuff comes to us.
Yeah.
And we forward it. So most people send it to our general email and we'll forward it on to the committee members. We haven't seen a lot of that.
Yeah.
So, but that would be generally how we do it. Okay. Next slide. Advisory positions. There are 2 main positions in the committee, and one is the chair and one is the vice chair. Every year these get revoted on, and they just happen to get voted on in March. So, which is fortuitous since we just lost our chair. The chair manages all the meetings. They run the meetings, they follow the rules of order, they make sure that the meeting stays on task, and then all the members of the meeting stay in their lanes and do what they're supposed to do. They call for all the votes. If there's a vote to be called, that's going to be the chair that calls for the votes. They open and close the meeting. Generally, they add or take away items to the agenda, and I generally send the agenda to have it approved. Carol didn't care what was on the agenda, so I usually just set the agenda and gave her a copy. But usually what I like to do is send the agenda that I have to the chair, so the chair can say yea or nay, and then they send it back to me, and then I publish it. And again, it's a 1-year term. The vice chair's simple job is to fill in when the chair is not there. It's really that simple. So that being said, we need a chair and vice chair. And there's only 3 of you here today. So only 3 of you can be the chair and the vice chair, and only 3 of you can choose chair or vice chair. But we need to set those because we can't move forward without the chair and the vice chair. That is the most important. So, yes.
Nominate Nancy Mueller to be chair.
Okay, now Nancy is nominated to be chair. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have Nancy Mueller as the chair. It was difficult. Now we need a vice chair.
And you guys didn't make her fight for it or anything.
Sure, I
Okay.
nominate myself as chair.
Absolutely.
My vice chair. Correct term?
Yes, for this next chair. Yeah. Second, anyone?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
That's easy.
That was easy. Very good. So we have a chair, we have a vice chair. Sweet.
First vote,
So
successful already.
I hope nobody else wanted it, because they didn't show up, they don't get a chance. It's not super exciting. but it's a fairly important position. All right, so what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna go through the history of the CAT system. You can ask me any questions as we go, okay? Please feel free. I'm not an expert. I've been here 3 years. Nancy's much more of an expert, so she can fill in the gaps I make up. But we'll try to get from point A to point B, and I'm gonna do a high-level overview, but as detailed as I think you need to go. You can go more detailed. If you want more information from me, we can get it for you. If you want to dive deeper into something, just let me know. I'm gonna try to hit most of the main points. So we'll start with the formation of Camden area transit in 2002. So prior to 2002, this was all TriMet territory. Yes.
I have a quick question about the chair, vice chair, they have the same voting as every other member, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody, yeah, we don't have a,
I know like mayor.
yeah, we don't, we don't have a weak chair
Yeah,
system.
okay,
for the most part.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, she just makes things move forward.
Yeah.
Good question. Yeah,
That's a good question.
you know, everybody's strong here. There's no weakness.
Right.
Equally strong.
Yeah,
All right, so everything was TriMet territory. Everything from the Columbia River all the way down to the edge of Wilsonville, to the edge of Canby, all the way out through Malala and Sandy was TriMet territory. It was set up by the state years ago. The state created the payroll tax, the state charged the payroll tax. Somewhere along the line, the South Clackamas district, which is Malala, Malino, that area, said, this doesn't work for us, TriMet doesn't serve us well. So they went to the state and said, we want out. The state said, okay, you can go out, you have to make an agreement with TriMet. They came up with an IGA that has one terrible caveat. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The city of Wilsonville then said, that makes a lot of sense. They don't serve us very well either. And so they said, we're getting out of here. And the state said, fine, just negotiate with TriMet. TriMet said, fine, with one caveat. And then the city of Canby said, that makes a lot of sense. TriMet barely serves us. We need better service. And so the state said, okay, go talk to TriMet. They negotiated and they said, you can go out for one caveat. And then Sandy said, we like this. We would like to do that ourselves too. Same scenario. And at that point, TriMet said, hold on, too many people are leaving states. We don't like this anymore. So they shut the well off at that point, much to the dismay of the other cities around who didn't get in over the wall. So that door is closed. At this point, I don't know what it takes to get out of the TriMet system because the state is closed out. Yeah, well, when we left the TriMet system, we also took the payroll tax with us. The state did say, we won't collect it for you, but you take it with us. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the caveat is this. You will continue to serve the city of Canby, and there's even some stipulations of how. None of them are major. There's only one that annoys me. But there, you will continue to serve the city of Canby, and should you ever choose not to, it becomes our territory again, and we take it back over. So that's the caveat. Any of these systems that choose to shut down or not do service, TriMet has the right to walk in the door, take it over. Yes.
any amount of service, or is there like a certain level of it? We
No,
have to
it means we'd have to shut it all down. Like, there's no service left. We just decide, like, let's say one of the committee councilors
I mean,
says,
we have one bus running one route, that still counts.
that's the counts. It would be the counselor saying, we don't want to do transit anymore. We're shutting it down. TriMet could then come in and say, it's ours then, we'll take it.
Who said that? That is.
That's the state.
Okay, then.
So what has ended up happening is you have TriMet, which is considered to be a qualified entity. I don't want to, I'm trying to be very gentle here, but TriMet is basically the king. And we are the smaller agencies. We are somewhat subservient to the king. That's not entirely true, but when it comes to funding, a lot of that's true. Most of the funding goes to TriMet and funnels back down to us. So we generally have to go to them and ask for certain amounts of money. Again, that's the state. So the state set that up. That wasn't TriMet's necessarily setting it up. All right, so we started our service. It was great. There were 3 lines. We had service all over the place. It was fantastic. Then around 2011, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Betsy credits. They were credits for, they were energy credits that you could sell and you could make some extra money. and use that for service. There was also, we have this other fund called 5310, which is for elderly and disabled. It was really robust. And I can't explain what happened with the Betsy credits, but I know they went from really valuable to not valuable at all. And then the 5310 got cut in half. So every transit agency, including TriMet, got hit at the same time with this massive loss of funding. At the time I worked at TriMet, they started laying off a bunch of the administrative staff. They started cutting service. They stopped hiring drivers, and Canby had to cut most of its service. They went all the way down to just the 99X and dial-a-ride, and that's all that was left. At that time too, they had to start charging fares because they needed to pick up some of the loss. So from that point to 2018, all they had was the 99X Monday through Friday and dial-a-ride. Everything else was gone. We have a thing called the Shopper Shuttle, which we'll talk about, but it's basically dial-a-ride for free. In 2018, my predecessor changed the name from 99 to 99X in response to a state audit that said, well, if you guys are going to hit this many stops along the way, your fixed route service, and they said, well, if we pull out a certain number of stops, then we're commuter service. And the reason they did that is because they were being asked to do is provide dial-a-ride all the way along the corridor, even including Woodburn, which we don't get any funding along the corridor. And the county couldn't handle it. So they turned the 99X into commuter service. So it runs hitting less stops. It sounds bad, it really isn't. The stops they pulled out, nobody used. So it's not a big deal. Well, it's a big deal. It's not a huge deal. So in 2019, they reintroduced Saturday service. So now we run the 99X on Saturdays as well as dial-a-ride on Saturdays. And then somewhere in there, the pandemic hit, and I got hired like 30 days before the closure of everything, which was fantastic. I joke around with my predecessor, Julie Welling. I said, so you had a really nice working transit system. I came in and I lost 50% of the ridership in the first year. Anyway, shortly after that, we had to hire a new contractor, and we'll talk about the contract a little bit, but we had to hire a new contractor, which took our rate from $60 an hour to 70 some odd dollars an hour. And then in last couple of years ago, we started the Canby Loop. So that's in a short nutshell our history. Now, city staff. So we are a pseudo city, pseudo contracts organization here. There are 3 members of city staff. There's myself as the transit director. I handle public transit. I also handle the fleet services for the city. There's Heidi Muller. She does basically everything else in the entire transit system, though her title is transit coordinator. And then we have a administrative assistant named Melody Thompson. She started last year, March 14th of last year. And because we decided it was about time we started cleaning up everything and making our records better. And Melody has a long history. She's actually retired. She wasn't there. I'm not supposed to say that. She wasn't there for a long time. But she has a long history of being an administrative assistant. She's done a fantastic job of getting us a little more on the professional side. Everything documented properly, all our records, electronic. She's moving us all to electronic records. Everything was on paper. We also pay for all city administrative services. So that's the finance department, the IT department, legal services, everything that you would normally get, you'd have to have in-house if you were one entity. We pay the city for all those services. Yeah, and we pay for all the fleet services. So the fleet maintains our vehicles, the city fleet department. So we pay for all that. So, yes.
Is our staff based here or over at the shop?
All our staff is based at the transit facility, which is Hazeldale Way right there.
Yes.
Mine there, Heidi's there, Melody's there, and the contractor's there. So all our drivers and dispatchers are contract employees. So we own all the vehicles, we own the building, and we contract out the work to the contractor. It used to be MV. They didn't win the bid. We go out every 6 years or so for a new bid. They did not win that bid. First Transit won the bid. Our manager is Scott Hess. Normally Scott would be here, and what he'll do is he'll give you the status report. He's gonna give you the ridership numbers, how things are running. He's gonna tell you about that side of the world. We have 3 dispatchers that work from 5 a.m. to 5 or 4:30.
Or 30,
4:30 till 11 o'clock at night.
11:30.
11:30. And they handle all the direct clients, incoming, all the bus traffic on the radio. 13, you said there were 14 drivers. Oh, you moved it down.
Yeah.
So we have 13 drivers, 8 full-time, 5 part-time. These are all First Transit employees. 1 casual driver, that means they just fill in when they need it. 1 field supervisor and 1 part-time, very part-time bus washer. All of these employees are employees of First Transit. Our contract is currently 2.5 years old. At the end of this coming year, when we hit January of next year, actually it's under 2.5 years old, we will need to negotiate for the 4th year of the contract. And then if we like the numbers they give us, then we negotiate for the 5th year of the next year and the 6th year of the next year. At the end of 6 years, they have to go back out for RFP. When I go back out for RFP, if I go back out for RFP, every time I go out for RFP, I have to do a benefit cost analysis for the city council and say, this is how much it costs to go out, this is how much it costs to bring in. And they make the ultimate decision about go out and come in. It's almost always cheaper to go out. When we hit the end of 6 years and we renegotiate the contract, I generally ask one of you to be a part of that process on the committee, evaluating the contractors, helping us choose. The last time it was Paul Waterman, who's now working with us. But he was a member of our board and he sat there and he helped us pick the new contract. Questions about that so far? Yes.
How many, I'm so sorry.
No, go for it.
Does Hess contract for any other cities?
So Hess works for what is now TransDev, used to be First Transit. And they contract for a lot of other cities. So TransDev has Trans-Dial-A-Ride. They also have, who else do they have?
First student.
Well, no, they didn't, they take First Student.
Oh, they didn't?
No, they left First Student with First Transit.
Oh,
But they have Young Hill, or is that, yes, they have Young
yeah,
Hill.
yeah. Well,
There's another one. Oh, did they get Salem? No, MCM. There's a couple others they have. Anyway, first, interestingly enough, TransDev is the smaller part of Veolia. Veolia runs the city's water plant, along with a bunch of other water plants. So it's a multinational corporation and it's all over the world. Transit was more national, so, but they got bought out. Scott himself only works for us. He is full-time, he manages the employees, but he works for that organization. So he couldn't at any time go, we want to go somewhere else. I've been pretty clear that that's not very acceptable because I need a full-time manager to manage these employees. Any other questions?
Is
She knows
TransDev-
everything. How could she have a question?
You wanted to correct it.
Oh.
No, TransDev, have they,
It's done. It is now TransDev.
so it's now officially,
Yeah, but they've bought the rights to the name, so they're keeping the name and everything for now.
okay, so First Transit still. what we
First,
call it.
technically First Transit.
Okay.
Until that changes, I don't know when or if that'll change. They even bought the federal ID, so they're gonna keep it going as a separate entity.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right, our buildings, we have 2 official buildings. One is a rental, where we rent a space next to Wilco. It's Suite C, it's right next to the vet, which is slightly problematic because you have a cat and you have the vet. Which one do you take your animal to? Apparently it's
You
the
get a
cat.
lot of cats.
So we get that quite a bit.
we don't mind it though.
We rent from Bob Zimmer. He owns all that property out there. We've been under lease, well, we were under lease for, it's supposed to be 6 years. That is long since expired and we're on the month. Behind there, and we'll get to this later, we own property that we want to build a building on. So that's hopefully coming soon. The transit center is right across the road in Cutsworth's parking lot, donated by the Cutsworth family, I don't know, 20 years ago.
Beginning of
Yeah,
That's where we've been ever since.
Yeah, so it was donated by them. We built the transit center ourselves, I think in 2006, 2007, upgraded it somewhere in 2011. Right now, it handles about 4 buses at peak, but we have like 6 coming in. So it's overloaded. Yeah, it's overloaded. But right now, that's what we have, so. Our fleet, we did bring a couple of buses, so when you guys want, we can go out, we can look through a couple of buses and we can take a look at them, but we have a fairly extensive fleet, maybe more than we need, but we like having more than we need because stuff seems to break down a lot. We have 3 35-foot Gilligs. Those look like your standard Triumph buses. I have one of those out there. They're about 5 feet shorter. And the reason they're 5 feet shorter is because Triumph only gives us 35 feet of space at the Oregon City Transit Center. Otherwise, I would have a full-size 40-foot bus, but I'm limited in space. Now, that's going to change in the future, and I'll probably move those to 40-foot buses, but right now they're 35.
How many do this?
33
Yeah.
plus
33.
standing room if
Yeah,
you needed
never
standing
hit
room, but we,
37. And I think a 40-foot takes 37.
Yeah.
So we're not losing that much space. We really don't have to have it. There's just no price difference between a 35 and 40, so. 5 28-foot Arbok cutaways. This is a whole interesting factoid, but if you look at Arbok backwards, it's Cobra. And that was, the Arbok buses was designed for Christopher Reeves. So when he was thrown from his horse and he was in his mobility device, he couldn't turn the corner in the buses. So Arbok came up with this clever design to angle the doorway. And they I can't remember where the Cobra came from, but that they flipped it around to call it Arbok. And so from who?
she'll
Do you
probably
know
know.
where Cobra came from?
It had something to do with him.
Yeah, and I can't
And
remember
I
what it
can't
was.
remember what the story
You
Was
was.
it-
you used
was
to
the
talk
Cobra
about
the horse? Anyway, I don't remember.
maybe.
Anyway, so they're really neat designs. And they have an angled doorway, but they only come on Chevy chassis, which my mechanics aren't thrilled with. So we have 5 of those, 28 feet long. We use those for fixed route services.
And how many goes see?
99X. What, I'm supposed to know?
Well, you were talking, I was
I don't
waiting for,
remember.
how many do they seat?
Yes.
The 28s? Those seat 20.
22. Is it 20 or 22?
20.
So we use those for our fixed route services, especially on off-peak hours or our loop service, because they're smaller, they get around a little easier. We have 2 26 Arbok cutaways. Are both of those going away, or those are keeping?
We're keeping them for now if I can get them back from the shop.
They're older. We have 3 23 footers. We use those for driver ride service. We have 1 Chevy 24-foot van, and we have a Dodge Caravan, and then we have our favorite, which is a 20-foot Ford Transit. It's just like the one Amazon buys, except it's built for transit. It's fantastic. It's our first one. We'll probably buy a bunch more. We looked at an electric one last week. They're fantastic. I was really pleased with what they're. And then we have a Chevy Impala that nobody drives and sits in our lot and probably will forever because it's really uncomfortable. That's true. It's not really true. I think the contractor uses it to move people around.
One thing we're having problem with our fleet services right now is supply
Yes,
issues.
why?
Like a couple of our
Why?
buses need specific parts that we can't get because they're just not here anymore or available. So that's why I made that little comment.
So how often are you file for this app?
Yeah.
Ah, holiday shuttle,
On
holiday
the
shuttle.
holiday.
How often are they at?
Oh, we've gotten pretty close.
Yeah.
We've been up there a few times
I don't
last,
know off the top.
so we got a,
What makes these ideal for the service is the long hauls, because we go all the way from Oregon City to Woodburn and back. So the diesel engines, the larger diesel engines, they're rated for 500,000 miles. So they hold up longer. The cutaways, when we put them out on the 99X, we get half the life. They start dropping engines and transmissions. So a lot of it has to do more with longevity than just capacity. But I would love to fill that up. That's absolutely right.
And a big thing people say, used to
They're
big
always empty.
criticism, they're always empty. Why you have these big buses and they're always empty? And the great explanation, it's like being in a truck. Your delivery truck, you're dropping things off, you're picking things up along the route.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have, you'll have a person get on a bus and you'll have two get off, you'll have three get on, one of them gets off. They're off and on all day. And it's when you see the actual numbers of people that are traveling, which you'll get it when Scott does his report, you'll see the ridership numbers.
We'll get to, we have those. We'll get to them.
The cutaway, does that refer to what you're talking about, the doors being slanted?
Yes,
Okay.
so the Cutaway is a Chevy 450.
We have
450 or 350?
450 and we have one
We have one
outside,
out there. 6-cylinder, 6 or 8?
8,
Uh,
8.
Anyway, and they
Yeah.
basically rip the body off, and then Arbot comes in and builds a new chassis on top of it. So they tend to be a bit of a maintenance challenge, because you sort of Frankenstein a bus together. Unlike the Gillig takes it from, the first rivet and builds it all the way through to the very end. So we have less maintenance challenges with those than we generally do with the Cudaways. And part of it's the way they're built. The Dial-A-Ride vehicles, the smaller vehicles, are built for shorter, less frequent stop starts and all that kind of stuff. than the Gilligs are. They're just they're made for transit is what they are. Whereas the Arbocs are really made for more of a smaller,
Yeah.
long haul, like you go to the hospital. Use this
All of our buses and vans,
every week. Except for the Impala.
here,
No,
I
no.
assume. That would be pretty impressive though. Put it that way in there.
Yes. Okay, questions? Great. How do we get our money? Always everybody's question, where are you funded from? So we are funded from multiple different sources. The biggest piece of that pie, the largest piece you see is our payroll tax. Every business in this city that has employees pays a payroll tax. Our rate is $6 per thousand. We have kept it that way since the beginning of the transit system. We've never raised it. Unlike TriMet, who continually raises their payroll tax every year, the city has made a commitment to keep it at $6 per thousand for as long as humanly possible. Despite, and I've seen the letters, pressure from TriMet to the city saying you need to raise your payroll tax. They chose instead to cut services rather than raise their payroll tax. So I think that's an awesome trait. We get plenty of money from our payroll tax right now. Yes,
How much does TriMet, what is their?
I think they're at, I just did that number too for the budget. I want to say it's $790 per thousand. It keeps going up every year. They've got a slight multiplier.
$6 per thousand or 6%?
$6 per thousand.
$6 per $1,000 in payroll.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's just-
That's Todd. So it's, boy, yes.
So for every $1,000 an employer.
An employer pays an employee, they send us $6.
Okay.
How much it approximately is that per year?
Right now, it's about $1.8 million.
Okay, just the payroll.
Just the payroll.
Cool.
It used to be far less. Part of the reason it's so high right now is all the building from all the houses. And we've got a whole lot of manufacturing that's been put in the last 10 years. Because it used to be way lower. So it's just really escalated with all the new organizations. We get 4 different grants, or at least we used to. So the 5311 is our federal rural grant for every city who's under 50,000. The state says we're going to give you X number of dollars based on your population. Right now, that is, it's really small. So that's that 11% right there, that little 11% piece of the puzzle. Right now, it's about $300,000 is what we receive from the state every year. Every 2 years, we have to reapply. That funds our 99X. That is its main function, is to fund the 99X. 100% of that 5311 I apply to the 99X. Costs us a lot more than that to run the 99X, but that is what that's doing. The 5310 is the little orangish red slice, that's 3%. That one is federal money that's dedicated to elderly and disabled services. It can only be used for that purpose, elderly and disabled services. That money comes from TriMet. I have to apply to TriMet to receive that money. Once TriMet awards me that money, then I go to the state gives me the money. It's a really messy circle, but that's, almost didn't get it this year, I had to fight for it. That's only about $80,000 a year. Then we have the state transportation funds. That is one of the oldest state grants for public transportation. And the state has decided to get rid of that. So that one I also went through TriMet to get, and they have forever gone through TriMet to get, and usually we're awarded about 100, I think it's 126,000 this year. It's about 250 to 260,000 every biennium. It's also on a biennium. But the state has eliminated that line item. That one's gone. They've rolled it into the STIF. The STIF is an interesting pot of money. It's called the State Transportation Improvement Fund. It is part of the HB 2017 package that the legislature pushed through in 2017.
Working with it.
Yes. Everybody's paycheck who works in the state of Oregon pays transit tax. That is where that money comes from. Now, it has a few interesting caveats. One, the state pays out in lump sums over quarters based on their actual collection. So unlike the other two where we use the services, we send a thing to the state saying this is how much we spent. In this case, every 2 years, the state says, come up with your projects, tell us how much you want to spend, and then we'll try to send you that much money that comes in. So it's a little screwy, so we kind of have to guess. The other problem with this is the legislator felt that the money needed to be handled by the qualified entities. So in our case, that's TriMet. So TriMet is then told by the state how much money they think they'll get. TriMet then runs a multiplier and decides how much they'll give Canby. Canby then comes up with projects which you come up with, which the projects we use were brought to get by this group. We put those into an application. Clackamas County bundles everything into their application. That application goes to TriMet. TriMet's board of directors says approved or denied. If they approve it, then we get the money on a quarterly basis, and TriMet then audits us to see if we're spending the money correctly. It's a really messy situation. We're trying to get it fixed, but it's a legislative fix. And we're not sure how that's going to happen. We keep trying to get the legislator to look at our issues, and they're not quite with it. Hey, back up.
Oh, sorry.
That's why I got it. Fares. Fares is that tiny green 2%. We charge Monday through Friday $1 per boarding, except for the loop and except for Saturday's service. It brings in only about $60,000 a year of that. So it really just helps us cover a little bit of fuel. We stopped doing Saturday service. This body voted to stop Saturday fare service, and we stopped Saturday fare service because we thought we just don't have a ton of ridership on Saturdays. Most people that work the lower income jobs are going to work Saturdays. So we determined that it was in our best interest to drop the $1 fare on Saturdays. We also, it's a safety issue for us. The drivers don't have to collect money. We don't have as much supervision on the weekends, so we don't have to worry about it. We don't have a lot of problems here anyway, but there was a bunch of considerations. So we thought that would be a good idea, and it seems to have worked fairly well. People like it. Let's see. I think that's it. Yes? Questions about those numbers? Yes.
So sorry.
Go ahead.
So when the council kind of, I'm guessing, aligned to general have this idea, was there a particular reason why there's that large of a chunk from the whole vehicle tax?
That was TriMet's number at the time.
So TriMet said you guys need to take this out.
That was part of the part of the agreement was this is what our current payroll tax is. You will adopt that payroll tax. It's in the IGN. So we adopted that payroll tax. And we haven't changed it since. The only reason it's gone up is because of the increase in business.
And the IGA is an intergovernmental.
Yeah, with no
agreement
no
between
end.
Congress and- And we haven't had to raise it or do anything, and we're getting, as you can see,
Yes.
that's.
It's been quite helpful.
But we have to abide by that TriMet.
We have to abide by the IGA unless somebody comes in and changes the IGA or limits the IGA. And I think Julie tried to tackle that at one point, and they basically said no. Anyway, yeah. All right, how are we administering? The city council is the decision-making body. They put the rubber stamp on everything, so anything that goes to them over a certain amount of money or major changes has to be approved by the city council. City manager Scott Archer, he runs the city. Everything goes through him. So anything over $10,000, I have to have approved by Scott. Anything over 50 is has to have approved by the council. I run just about every change this system has through Scott before I make it. So, and then there's me. The city council directs the city manager directs me, and then I carry out whatever until. The transit advisory advises the city council and myself, and the city council is usually only involved in purchases and interchanges. So really, that's what they care about is the money we're spending or major changes to the system. That's usually what they want to hear. The minor stuff, the little changes, they like to hear about it, they like to know about it, but they're not going to direct us. We're going to make those decisions. Questions? Oh. All right, let's go through what we have. 99X. 99X is our major route. It runs Monday through Saturday. It runs from Oregon City all the way to Woodburn. We do a little more commuter service in the evening to Oregon City and a little more in the morning to Oregon City. And we run later to Oregon City because we have more ridership. So it operates 5 to 10:45. It's our longest running route. The Woodburn route cuts off at 7:54. I'd like to extend that in the future, but that's one of those things that this body will have to make decisions about. And then on Saturdays, we only run from 8 to 6:45, like CX and at some point in the future.
And we'll go to Woodburn and Oregon City on Saturdays. We still-
Yeah, the whole route, all 5-6 days a week. All right, click one over. Our ridership is fairly steady. It was higher years ago before TriMet installed the orange line. People used to ride it to Oregon City, transfer to the 33, take the 33 downtown. Once they truncated the 33 and it stops at the Max station, less people wanted to make 2 transfers. So more people now drive to Park Street, hop on the Max and go down that way. So the ridership went down then. Right now, and then after the pandemic, we took a huge dip too. We're not back yet. We're slowly coming back, but you can see we average about 4,000 to 5,000 rides per month. Right? Questions about that? No? That's good. Dial ride service. So we have 3 main dial ride services. So our dial ride service is an elderly disabled service for the most part. So I say for the most part because we have general public delivery. And it's door-to-door service. So we go to your door, we pick you up, we drop you off where you want to go, we come back and pick you up. We curb to curb. Curb to curb. We are curb to curb. We don't go to the front door.
Yes.
We operate that 5 to 8:15 for mainly for people who were paratransit. Those are people who need dialysis or have serious medical issues. And then 8 to 6:30 on Saturdays. And then our general public is, if we don't have enough people who fall under a paratransit, we will open it up to anybody who wants to run. Those are the first people bumps when we have more paratransit riders than we have room for. And for the most part, I think we've only bumped 1 general public in the last month, right?
Mhm.
So we usually have enough space. We have 3 dial ride drivers. We operate, like I said, most of the day. Then we have the shopper shuttle. The shopper shuttle is one of these items that I will be bringing before you to retool. It provides free rides to stores on a fairly odd schedule. It goes north sometimes and south other times. It was built because when the system lost all the money and they wanted to still provide service for some elderly and disabled folks, but they couldn't afford the fare that would take them to and from the stores for free. It's an odd service and I think we need to relook at it. But basically, that's what it's for, is to take people to and from various stores. I think we can do it better. I think other cities do it better, but we'll talk about that when we get further into the year, because I've been asked repeatedly by my transit coordinator and by my contractor, can you please relook at this service? Yes.
Is the general and the shopper free as well?
Now, no, the shopper's free, the general and the complimentary paratransit are $1 each.
Complimentary on the street, or is you have to pay for it?
So yes, it's called complimentary paratransit. It's almost a misnomer.
It complements fixed route.
Yes,
Gotcha.
so it is a complement to, so the law says that if we provide fixed route services, yeah, we must complement the service within 3/4 of a mile of the fixed route service. So that's why it's called complimentary paratransit. Now, let me back to that because I completely missed one of the other parts of our now infamous IGA. The IGA says that we will provide all services for Dial-A-Ride from Canby to Oregon City and from Oregon City to Canby. So anybody who lives in Oregon City who wants to come to Canby for medical appointments, shopping, or employments,
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm.
you know.
Medical, social services, education, and employment. Yeah.
Then we
It's
have
been a
to
long
provide
day.
that service. So, and vice versa. So, for instance, we have one person who needed to attend the Canby School District as opposed to the Oregon City School District. They qualify under the ADA, so we in the mornings send a bus up into Oregon City to pick them up and bring them to school every day. And I have to do that because it's part of that agreement. So we do this quite a bit. How many trips do we have tomorrow to Oregon City and from?
A lot, actually. It was pretty dicey. I think we have about 10,
Yeah, so we do this a lot.
and each trip is for one person is a minimum half hour, but we try to group them as much as we possibly can. Mhm.
Like downtown.
Most of our clients in Oregon City go to iHealth Northwest, Willamette Falls Hospital for medical appointments, dialysis. No,
They live in
this is
Canby.
mostly Canby to Oregon City and back.
Get people from Canby to Oregon City for
Yeah.
medical, social
Well,
services.
Yeah, but we also bring people from Oregon City here.
That's
Yeah.
the fire truck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we do both. So we have a number of people we pick up in Oregon City, bring them to Canby. And then we bring them back again. So we do that 10 times tomorrow. So 20 trips to and from. Oregon City.
roughly.
One thing too, the paratransit service, complimentary paratransit, that's an application process.
Yeah,
Person fills out an application and then it's reviewed and determined if they qualify for that service.
the qualifications are set by the ADA. We follow TriMet's pretty general standards for their paratransit service, so it's almost the same across the board. In fact, I think we've stolen most of their stuff. Now, for non-Oregon City trips, everything else is urban growth boundary for the city of Canby. So if you're in the city of Canby, and you want to travel within Canby, that's great. If you're not going for those reasons to Oregon City, we can't take you outside the boundaries of Canby. We've got a request from the Clackamas County to begin to serve areas outside of Canby as urban growth boundary. That does come with funding. They will fund the trips. But we'll have to come up with an IGA and agreement on how far we'll go, what we'll do. But I've already got them saying, I need to get you some money, so we need to get this going. So they would like, and that would be great, because nobody serves Barlow at all, right? No paratransit there at all. Nobody serves the, what is it called up there? The
The Regency.
Regency.
Regency mobile home park up there.
Yeah.
Nobody. So there's a lot of people that just don't have service. And Clackamas County doesn't have the bandwidth to service these areas. So they would like us to help them pick up the slack. But they're willing to help fund the trips. So, because we do not receive any funding outside of Canada. It's only the urban growth boundary businesses that fund Canada. So even though we go all the way to Woodburn, we don't receive funding from any city outside of Canada. Same thing with TriMet. We serve TriMet district, but we do not receive any of the funding for the TriMet district that we serve. So Kenema, that's ours. But TriMet receives all the funding. Listen to those in that interesting fight.
There's a, yeah.
Yeah. It's a great idea. The dial-ride service, so we do about 1,000, we're pretty steady right about 1,100, 1,000, 1,100, 1,300 a day dial-ride service. No, a month, not a day. We do about,
Oh, God.
we do about anywhere from 50 to 80 rides a day.
I'd still be doing the
So we
schedules.
have 3 full-time dial-ride drivers that are constantly moving. It fluctuates. If the weather's gonna be bad, that'll drop through the floor. If it's gonna be a beautiful sunny day, everybody wants to go to Denny's or the park or wherever, so. It kind of ebbs and flows on a day-to-day basis. There's no real steadiness, whereas our 99 is fairly steady. Most of the people ride are regular riders, and so we see them on a fairly regular basis. All right, Canby Loop. So Heidi and I built the Canby Loop. It was one of our first acts of greatness. It's a very messy process. So we are governed partially though by a document called the Transit Master Plan. It is required by the state of Oregon that we have a Transit Master Plan. That's going to be updated this next year, and you will all be involved in that process. The Transit Master Plan said that what the citizens of Canby want is those loop services that they lost back in 2011 back. Okay. So we built, using the STIF funds, the State Transportation Improvement Funds, one of the projects the Spotty voted on was, first it was Saturday service, and then it was the Canby Loop. So the Canby Loop mirrors I think it was two of the old loop services in one bus.
Roughly.
It's not as efficient as I'd like it to be, but given the funding we have, we're actually working pretty well. It runs every 28 minutes, it goes around for 28 minutes. Then the drivers take the break and then it goes around again. We run 10 times a day, Monday through Friday. We have enough funding in the STIF that we're going to expand it to Saturdays beginning September 6th. It's done much better than I honestly expected. I mean, I will be the first to admit that I was very skeptical that we'd see much ridership. So we started it actually in October, just before that, February. You can see it started out pretty slow, and then all of a sudden, we made a couple of scheduling tweaks to tighten up the schedule and improve the schedule, and bam, next thing you know, we're doing 12 to 1,300 rides a month. So we're getting up there in the 70s or 80 rides per day. So it's actually doing much better than I expected. And people seem to enjoy it. So happy to see that. It's master plan was done in 2017. That's been,
And that's approved by the council or that goes, how does that?
so the way, how does the master plan get done? Okay, so what'll happen is we will go out and get a contractor, because this thing is a massive document. And what the contractor does is they go out and they start doing citizen surveys, meetings, and flyers, all kinds of stuff to gather in data from the people of Canby and say, what types of services do you want? And then they look at the demographics of the city, other cities, what other people are doing, and they generate what they call the Transit Master Plan report, which says, yeah, this is overall what we believe is what the citizens want and what we believe is the best. They don't always come together. And then we have to use that for our funding when we go out and say, we want money for this. They'll say, where is it in the master plan? Say, it's here on page such and such and such. And the student says, okay. So this was done in 2017, and I can tell you the loop has been on every master plan since they were born. It is one of those services that the city has demanded back ever since. It is free. We made it free. So anybody can get on it anytime and ride it. We get a lot of high schoolers that use it during the bad weather because our school system doesn't pick people up inside the city. So yeah, so we take them to school. So we get a lot of school kids that ride it. We get a lot of workers that ride it now. And then I made sure that it hit every single park in the system I could. So it hits all our major parks. So people can get to Maple Street Park, they get to the Canby Pond, I call it Canby Park, Canby Community Park. They can get to, I think the only one that can't hit is Locust because it's up the road. Yes.
I remember for what it's worth, when the loop came back, the engagement through our site were really excited.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm curious, in terms of the route, is it evaluated on any type of schedule if, because we're, as you mentioned, we've got new buildings and things coming on. Do we do surveys and things? Like how often is it kind of looked at?
Great question, and the answer is it's only been going for a year and a half. And we
Right,
haven't
so
done
not yet.
too much yet. However, that being said, we have evaluated the route timing, we made a tweak to the route timing. We also changed the route. We used to go up Fourth Avenue and come down to Redwood, but we weren't seeing any ridership, and we got a request from the school. School.
Baker Prairie.
Baker Prairie, and so we started running on Baker Prairie for the middle school. So we did make that change. We're also currently evaluating the Douglas Street loop down there near Aspen, because we don't get much ridership and it's a little tight, because it's a very tight community, and seeing whether or not we want to eliminate that. So the answer to your question is, we've only done a little bit, but it's something we need to continue to do. Because as we build out, as they build out the Walnut Street extension, as they build out more of the city, I can tell you right now, this is not going to work. It's not going to be applicable, right? We're probably going to have to divide this loop into two pieces and run two separate loops. They're not cheap. This loop costs about $300,000 a year to run, which is actually pretty cheap if you think about it. What is our 99X is about $62,000 a month.
Roughly,
So
currently,
about almost $800,000 a year.
for 99 and the loop.
No, just 99.
Oh, 99, yeah, about 800.
And
Service,
those decisions fully reside with us, they're not up to the contractor?
the contractor has no say.
Okay.
We tell
do
them what
we
to
tell
do, they do.
Okay.
I say that, it's mostly true.
Scott's not here, you can say
No,
it.
I can say, the contract- no, the contract says that this is our service and your job is to operate.
Yeah.
You know, we tell you what to operate, you tell us how much, which is, that's what the rate is. We pay 78.62. 78.62?
Yes,
I don't know, it's either 62 or 76. 78.62 right now per driver hour. So for every hour the driver is in service, we pay $76 an hour. That doesn't include them taking a lunch break or filling up the bus with gas. This is just them actually in service. We do 20,000 hours a year.
roughly.
Yeah. It's roughly 20,000 hours of service. Give or take.
So that 76 includes gas.
No, we pay for gas. That's a different budget.
So the 76 is,
Just drivers, just bodies, just humans.
so they're receiving around 70-something dollars an hour?
Yes, no. The contractor receives $76 an hour, but you have to remember the contractor pays for the bodies, the dispatchers, the supervisors, their business overhead, all the insurance for all the employees, all the liability for all the employees.
Union.
All that kind of stuff is bundled into that 70. I can tell you that this particular contractor's margins are incredibly thin. They're not making much money at all. I think they're probably less than 50,000.
So we pay them 76 per hour, not per bus driver.
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
yes. Sorry.
Were you thinking about a job change?
No, I.
Exactly. No, that's a good question.
No, I
And
meant,
get your CDL.
yeah, I meant 76 per bus. that was the
So
number.
76 per vehicle hour. So in service vehicle hour. So there's a
That
driver
could be multiple vehicles.
driving that
Mhm.
vehicle. That vehicle's in service, is picking people up. We pay $76 an hour for that.
So if there's 3 going at a time,
Yes.
we're not paying 76.
And we pay 76 for each of those vehicle hours.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yes. So for every single vehicle hour, or we call it in service hours. So not, like I said, not somebody who's driving from the bus bar to here to go, but the minute they start in service, every hour that bus is in service, we pay $76 an hour. So if I have 10 buses on the road, I pay $760 an hour, right? Give or take. Pretty normal for our industry. I did the math on my end, and I think it would cost me about $70 per vehicle hour for the employees. So it's expensive. The thing I always tell people about transit service is transit is a public service. It's never a business. You're never gonna make money. You're always gonna lose money. If it was a business-making enterprise, the city would not be in the business of public transit. It would be a external party, like a community member or something like that, who would run their own service because they'd make money. It's always been a losing proposition. It will always be a losing proposition, but that's not its purpose. Its purpose is to improve the livability of your city by giving people transportation options outside of driving their own car. For the people who can't drive, the people who don't want to drive, and the people who have no other options. The number of lives that we take care of because they have no way to get to the hospital is amazing. So there was that big snowstorm a few weeks back. And Heidi and I, the contractor didn't have enough ambulance. There was one more trip in the ambulance. And I said, go get the bus, we're gonna take this. And they're like, nobody's gonna go. I don't care. We said we'd be there, we'd be there. We pulled into the transit center and there was one Hispanic elderly lady. She had all her groceries standing there. And we were her only way home. We loaded her up. She was our only passenger all the way to Woodburn. We stopped right at her doorstep because there's nobody else. And it was icy. We carried her bags to the door. Those are the people who are out there serving. So unfortunately, it used to be this expensive. It's very expensive. Our average budget right now is about $2.5 million. All right, now I'm going to step back and hand this over to Heidi, because this is Heidi's projects. I will say that we have, for my entirety of being here and most everybody's been fairly paper-based. And we decided it was time to change that. And so we have begun implementing new technology. And so for that, we have a technology expert. Go for it.
Yes, I love technology. So we just started up our fixed route system, which is contracted through a service provider called Passio. They provide our tablets that are in our buses right now, and I'm slowly actually I got all of our fixed route drivers set up now to where they're logging in. I'm hoping we launch to the public. There's going to be an app-based program with this system. So I can even pull it up on my phone right now and tell you. I can, let me get out of this. And then let me get on here. So I'll just pull up the public domain. Now. Should have set this up before you guys started, sorry. Yes. I did select an agency, thank you. All right. So let me close this out. So this is our website version of Passio. And you'll see something similar on your phones, obviously a little smaller, but you can literally click on the bus and it tells you what bus number it is. She currently has 5 passengers on 5% of the bus is capacitated right now on that. Here is our 99X. They got about 9% on the 29, which is one of our Gilligs. And then if you look, yep, she's got one more loop. So if you're wanting to wait at a stop, let's say you're here at Maple Street Park. On the app, you would click this button and, well, okay. She's going on a break, that's why, sorry. Let me use a different one. Let's go here. Let's say Riverside RV Park. Next bus is in 34 minutes. So the next bus will be coming back from Woodburn at approximately 34 minutes to pick up at that stop. You can also set alerts on these to alert you when the bus is coming close to that location on the application. But it just gives you a very big overview. And you can see here's our Woodburn bus going down right now. 28. And then here's our Oregon City 38. So, and it just gives you live up to date exactly where they're at. So then if you're not sure if you missed the bus or not, you can just pull up the app. It'll GPS your location and it'll point you to the closest stop on the app. and say how far away the next bus is and what number it is.
Still pretty raw. Heidi's been working on a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
We haven't got the pass through the camera system up yet. That's still in process.
so you can see the loop here is 1 minute away.
The real benefit to this is not this side of the function. This is cool, and this will be great for riders who are standing at bus stops. But the real benefit to this is actually the R side. It will do things like tell us what the actual on-time performance is, which stops are being utilized most and which aren't being utilized all, which trips nobody rides or which trips have the heaviest rides. It'll let us know which drivers are on time, and let us know which drivers are following the route. It's gonna give us statistics that before we had to rely on people writing it down. It wasn't very accurate. We'll now get very accurate statistics. It'll help us better plan our system and better increase the efficiencies. We've already found, Heidi's working on, which is another thing you will all need to help us with, is the 99X. The 99X is fairly inefficient. We spend a lot of time not moving buses, but paying for unmoving buses. And we don't want that. If we're gonna pay per hour, we want the bus to move. We want people getting picked up. So we believe we can provide more service more frequently on the 99X for the same amount of money. So this type of software will help us find these efficiencies and improve. So we're hoping to roll that out by September. So that'll be something we'll be putting in front of you as well. So that's the Passio fixed route side.
There's one more thing though. With the Passio technology, it also has automated stop announcements. So instead of the driver having to call out the stop, it does it for you. It'll track it. And once you hit a geo fence that's around that bus stop, it'll do an announcement for you on what stop you're coming up to and then the next stop. Kind of like what you would probably hear on TriMet buses mostly. So TripMaster is our other software program. That's our paratransit software that we use mostly for our dial-a-ride scheduling and services. It's also coordinated into these tablets that we have through Passio through an application. Currently, I'm working with all of our dial-a-ride drivers, getting us all trained up to use this. It'll eliminate their paper manifests, make it more clean, more easier. All they have to do is push a couple buttons. I've arrived, they're on board, and so forth. It has GPS technology to help them with routing in case they're going to a new place that they don't know. And then the automated scheduling helps because it will adjust as the day goes by and as more trips get called in or scheduled. I can continuously change the schedule as we keep going. There is a mobile app for this, so our riders can sign up on the mobile app and actually request their trips without even having to call in. It'll send an alert to the dispatcher and they look and they'll set up the trip. And then that person can get all communication through their phone. They don't even have to call us if they want to do that. And then the "Where's my ride" text is a feature. So when the driver's en route, it'll give them a real-time update. Your bus is 10 minutes away as soon as they hit on the way. So as soon as that driver hits, "I'm on my way," it'll send a message to that client saying, your bus is 2 minutes away. And that will help us with efficiency and minimal wait time. We do what we call a 5-minute countdown. So if we arrive within a window time of the scheduled pickup time, we start what we call a 5-minute countdown. If the passenger does not come out within that 5 minutes, it's a no-show. And then we have to move on to the next trip. So by using this feature, we're hoping it'll help limit those 5-minute countdowns and make the bus move a little bit more quicker on the dial-a-ride service, which when did I start doing scheduling with the new system and messing with it? About a week ago, and our on-time performance is probably I want to say on average, probably about 97% right
Which is
now.
up from 92.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Our rides per hour, which is how you measure dial-a-ride, is gone from 1.9, and to give you an idea of where 1.9 is, Clackamas County's is 0.9. We're at 1.9, we've gone up to 2.3. So this system is increasing our efficiency by auto scheduling all these rides and putting them in more efficient spots. We're gonna make some changes that some of our riders haven't liked as much, like you have to ride with other people because this is a shared service. But it's helping our efficiency tremendously. The other thing it does, which I really like, is it calls all our riders the night before. It
Yeah.
says, this is your time.
Yeah, so.
We were doing that manually, now the system does.
Yeah, so as of 6:15 PM tonight, every single client got an automated call of all their trip times. And then I have a way of looking to make sure that they answered it, they got the call. If they don't answer the call, it will call them again and again a few times until they finally answer. So, or it's also text-based. So if we have people who are hearing impaired or just don't want an automated voice telling you what time your pickup is, they can get a text message instead, which I recommend mostly. So if anybody is interested in that. And yeah, I can't think of anything else. The only other downside that we've had is a little bit longer time on the buses. But it's to ensure that we can get everybody's trip and everybody where they need to be within the time frame. Because when you have about 10 people that all want 10 o'clock arrival times at a store like tomorrow, you gotta kind of shuffle it a little.
Does the new app work for all of the systems? Rides, like dial a ride,
Yes.
or not?
Yeah, so each of them have separate applications because it's separate technology companies. So the Passio is all of our fixed route.
Okay.
And then it's called a CTS, Trip Master. The CTS trip program, or they call it Trip Scheduler, is what our clients would use to schedule their trips.
Passio app does track all the buses for all the
Yeah.
circuits. So you can see the dial-a-ride vehicles are all black circles, so they don't show on a specific route.
But those only show up on our side.
Oh, they don't show up on the passenger.
They do not
side?
show up on the app because it
We
is
see
not
that.
an active map. Yeah, I could pull it up if you'd like to see it, but
We see what they are. For the most part, most people use our dial-in service are interested in when it gets there. So it
Yeah.
calls them and sends a copy or something.
Yeah.
Which is helpful. 90% of our dial-a-ride clients are elderly disabled or ADA. So many of them can't use. So. Questions? Any more questions on this? When we get it fully tuned in and live and everything's working, we'll bring it back in and give you guys a full demonstration of everything it does.
I'm
Ivy will bring it back in and give you a full demonstration.
I'm hoping, I've talked with Passio and I'm hoping we can launch live this next first Thursday. I'm hoping.
Brave,
That's my hope.
brave. Okay.
Don't harp on my hope. But, and if we are able to, then I'll be out on that first Thursday with flyers, pamphlets that will allow people to download the applications on their phones through a QR code. So, or if any of you want it now, I can help you after the meeting and you guys can download it on your phone now.
Just trying to pass.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. And because you really can do one minute text, and you just select. All right. The office. So we rent from Mr. Zimmer. We have for 10 years now, not quite, but it's getting up there. But we own 2 acres behind. So that big thing up on the top left, that's Wilco. We rent 1,700 square feet there, and all our buses are parked in the lot below that. This is a design done by an architect for us. It's a 2-acre property. We have an RFP ready to go. We just need to get the okay from the boss to put it out. And we're estimating it'll probably cost about $4 million to do this. We'll end up with a 4,000 square foot operations building. Hopefully enough slots for many years to come for the buses. The bus yard will be electrified for electric vehicles. We'll have a wash bay so that we can wash our buses. Right now we have a hose and a bucket. And then if we ever get to that point, everything's done at our city facility, but we do have room if we needed to add a maintenance shop just specifically for our buses and all. Love to get this going. We're hoping we can get it going soon. Yeah. One of our other projects has been going on for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. This is our bus
20?
shelter project. We are trying to put bus shelters on 99 between the bridge and up to Territorial. We have 10 total stops. 9 of them will have shelters. 1 of them can't have a shelter because there's right-of-way issues with the owner of the property. All of these bus stops are tied to this 99E project. And the state, except for 4 of them, we are going to do, but for the most part, they're all tied to the 99E project. The state's going to prepare everything, and we're going to go in and build these things down. We have them coming in 2 weeks, but the state project is on hold until further notice. We don't know what that notice is. We just know it's on hold. So that'll be nice someday. So, but they will have benches, they will have solar lighting. It'll allow people who are on 99 waiting for the bus to actually be underneath the shelter instead of out there. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that ODOT can figure that stuff out and get moving again. Because we're excited to have these things in place.
Were they being delivered to?
The shop. Desire, no one else. And then we'll have to get a huge truck to haul them back out again.
Public Works is providing us a covered space so they can
Good.
stay nice.
I mean, they're made
But
to be out on the road, so they're not gonna
They
get.
come in one piece like that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, they come in, so they have feet. You can kind of see in the picture that get bolted down and they get lifted and placed and bolted.
Cool.
Pretty easy. The hard part is all the requirements for the sidewalk with it.
Yeah.
So that's the challenging part. Yeah. So we're hoping to get that done someday.
maybe.
All right, so it's been a long night so far. Normally we don't go this long. It depends on more on you than anything. But for the most part, we usually go about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. But that's for the most part the overview of the system itself. So what are we working on now? The 99X reschedule. Heidi's got a couple of options available. We'd like to bring them to you as a group, look over them, talk about what it looks like, what it means, and get some direction on where you want to see it go. We'd also like to talk about what type of expansions we'll do with that as well. The shopper shuttle reconfiguration. It really is a challenge to operate right now because it's mixed in with our dial ride, because it's basically a dial ride, but not a dial ride. And so we'd like to come up with a better configuration. So we're gonna bring that to you all and help us come up with a better configuration you think will better serve the community. Dial ride expansion, that's the county coming to us. We want to make sure that we can set the parameters for that expansion, how far we're willing to go, and how much we think we should charge for it. So we'll need your help on that. The Canby Loop expansion. We're obviously expanding to Saturdays, but as the city grows, the Canby Loop is going to need to be changed and expanded. It can't stay the way it is and still serve the community in the future. So that will be something we'll need to bring forward to y'all. We will do the transit master plan next year, so we'll get some guidance from the community on what they want to see. But ultimately, you'll be taking that information from the transit master plan and the community to determine what's the best fit for the city. What's not on here is future expansion, should we ever get there. At some point, we'll want to talk about making the 99X a little more efficient, but also expanding a little further. I've got requests from Clackamas County to go to Clackamas Town Center. I've got requests to go to Park Street Max Station. I've got requests from Salem Area Transit to go to Chemeketa Community College. So I've got requests from Wilsonville to expand our service to Wilson. So obviously we can't do half of those things. We don't have the money, it's expensive, and I don't know if it's in the best interest of the city of Camden. So that's part of what you're here to do, is say, these are not the best interest, or this is the best interest, or we thought, we really like the idea of going further south. Why don't you go to Salem and see if you can get something, because Salem has money for that area, see if you can get some of their money, and maybe we could expand a little further south. So those are some of the decisions you're going to help us make in the next few years. All the while looking at our system and saying, this works, this doesn't work, and you guys consider this, or you're not serving this community well, you could be serving. Questions? Have I missed anything?
This is a lot of information.
The presentation was great. I really appreciate both of you guys. It's really informative and I learned a ton. And I feel like I was maybe slightly more informed than the general public to start with, and I learned it that, so.
Cool. Very good.
I do have some questions and maybe some ideas that I don't want to take any more time tonight. I have a
Sure.
pregnant wife that's waiting dinner for me, but
Crazy.
is it possible to meet, maybe to discuss some things or?
Absolutely. You're also welcome to bring everything forward to the committee as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have, if you don't, you didn't bring any cards. Did you bring cards? I didn't bring any cards either. Yeah, you can always email either of us or call either of us. Oh, hi. Yeah.
I always,
Um,
always have cards.
Yeah, so they
Email us
probably just
anytime,
might-
any questions, but yes, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, some of them are probably very banal and like, oh, yeah, that would never work or. whatever.
Sure,
But,
no, that's great.
Yeah.
And none of us are experts in the world of transit. Transit is ever changing, always moving. There's new technologies out there. There are systems out there. They're calling micro transit, which is
Yeah.
like Uber,
Yes,
but for
that was
transit.
one of my questions.
Yeah,
regarding-
and I
regarding
have
Uber.
not looked into it.
Yeah.
I don't know how well it would work in a city this size. Maybe it would work great. Don't know. So there's tons of areas to explore. Who knows? Our goal is to find the best use of the money the city's given us to best serve the citizens of the city.
Runs Cat's wonderful Twitter account.
Oh, yeah.
You do a great job with
That would be the one that's probably gonna get yelled at once he realizes I took a picture of him and put it on Facebook.
Oh, okay. I really enjoyed the Cat, Twitter account.
And-
Cool,
And
okay.
apparently it might snow, so I might be funny again.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes,
I have two things.
Yes.
One, is there a place to view budget breakdowns? I'm sure.
so the budget, yeah, absolutely, the budget for the city, so as a member of the city, we are part of the budget document. So if you go to the city's budget website with in the finance department, and you scroll your way through the transit, we will be there, in our entire budget breakdown.
It's all alphabetical.
Yeah, it's sort of alphabetical, they break out the so because we're sort of our own separate financial entity, right? So there's the people who fall under general services, like IT and stuff like that, so it's sort of mostly in order, but there's a few that fall outliers. So there's some weird funds, I don't even know what they are, why they exist. But we're in there, and you can look through the whole budget. Currently working on it, with, everything we have just goes to the finance department, all our stuff is controlled by the finance department. That should get, I think there's a budget committee in May, so they'll start looking at it, but yes.
Okay, so I have read that. How, I don't remember how detailed it is, but so is there a breakdown of, say, like miles per gallon that each bus gets? I'm sure that's a major expense. And-
It's not as big as you think, but it is a major expense. I think it's about 100, what are we doing, 150,000 a year right now?
For gas.
Yeah.
I would. consider
Maybe a
that
little,
I guess I look at
little.
it from agencies that have nothing but gives running all the time, and so we're talking
Right.
millions and millions.
I'd say it'd be about 140, because our gas prices have gone down. So we're not hitting as little over 10,000 a month as we were
Yeah,
before.
Right, cheaper rate.
Right, so is there a place where we can see that breakdown?
I don't think that's online anymore. We can send you the,
No, I got fuel breakdowns.
the miles per gallon of buses.
Oh,
Is that
I would
right?
have to go into our fleet system
Okay.
and run a fuel
See if
report.
we can produce that.
I can't do it here.
No, not right now.
Oh, yeah, no, I can do that next meeting, yeah.
Right this minute.
Let me go to the office.
That's a hard example, but is there a place where we can see just more?
Everything's broken into various departments, so it's not quite that well done. So for instance.
Well, here's
so-
ours.
Yeah, that's our budget, our main. So here's the weird thing about our, which I'm working with the finance director to change. There's been so many changes in finance I have. So if you look at our, scroll down or scroll, yeah, yes.
Ah! Sorry.
Or, oh, stop. Okay, let's see, a little further.
Down?
Yep, yeah. Okay. So if you look at the bottom left, about 7 rows up, it says internal charge fleet. That is what we pay the fleet department for all repairs and fuel and oil. So they come up with an annual charge of what they think it's going to cost. We pay them a monthly fee at the end, I think it's March or April, like right now. The finance department goes in, takes the actual fleet's actual expenditures, so parts, labor, fuel, oil, and then updates that budget number with the actual that we spent.
So that's not through the contractor.
No, that's through the city.
Okay, so who actually goes, let's say, goes to take it for oil change? Is that?
Yeah, so that would be our fleet department. Heidi usually hauls them over to the fleet department, or the fleet department comes and picks them up. They're just on territorial, so it's a couple miles away.
Sure.
So, yeah, so she takes it or they take it and they do PMs, whatever breaks, that's their job. So that's what that is. So you can see like all our internal charges, those are all city charges. So city facilities, city tech services, and then further down you have the city overhead, the overhead to the general fund that pays for finance, HR. all that stuff. So there are these big buckets. Now, I have Heidi break down the fuel every quarter so that we can look at our fuel costs and make sure that we know what's coming out of each bus, so nothing's going crazy. But we can break down the miles per gallon for each vehicles.
One more question.
Yes,
Totally off,
sure.
not related, but I noticed, I think you mentioned it when I came in a while ago, and I think I saw on the city website that both Tyler and I are on the slots ending for, I think it ends in like 8 days or something. So was that like the filler positions?
Probably.
Or
Completely
just here for
wrong.
8 days?
You're just here for 8 days, that's, it's all over. No, you're here for 3 years. So it's term ends, yeah, well, yeah,
Well-
that's it, it's all over.
Well, because you guys agreed to do these full 3 years,
Right.
they just put you in the term endings that are ending, but you're gonna get, you don't have to go through, you're not gonna have to go through the interviews with Nancy again or anything like that.
So in other words.
You're just
all
gonna
those
get
days
transferred
for
over.
All the people who are currently in, right, they all end the 31st, so Carol ends, the people that don't exist, they all end. Well, there's one that ends on the 2025.
Yeah, that one's
But-
still,
So your term technically starts now and goes for 3 years. That
So
doesn't mean you.
next meeting, you'll say 2026.
Yeah.
March 31,
I
2026.
mean, I was just curious.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean-
yeah, I'll be getting with Maya, who's our deputy city recorder. She handles a lot of this stuff. I'm gonna be getting with her tomorrow on who's our chair, who's our vice chair, and then also to update our term limits for you guys. So it should be up
I'm
probably by
actually-
next week.
Surprised you guys are.
Yeah, she's been
Yeah, she's really good.
she's been pretty on top of it, so.
Name myself right there.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And Brian apologizes, his schedule did get changed a little bit, so he is at work right now.
Oh, that's all
That's
right.
who
It
was
is what it
calling.
is. Such is life.
Yeah, that's what I told
It
him.
happens to everybody. So, anyway, other questions? So, yes, are we good? And we just need the chair to vote us out of here.
Okay,
I move to adjourn.
I said,
okay, well.
I don't think you can argue with that.
Make a vote for 3-0 and it adjourns at 7:37.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you both again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank